Hello, everyone. I'm sorry this is pre-video of the new episode of Cruel Justice. We're still having a little uh, technical difficulties, but hopefully we'll be back on Facebook soon or on Instagram as our new platform. Today, we have a very, very bright, most accomplished uh, black woman I know right now. We have Miss Furonda Brasfield. For those that don't know, I just like to throw it out there because it's like I met one of the uh, top models, American top models. She was on the episode, and from there, she's have her own law firms, and she's a very strong advocate for criminal justice reform issues. So, with that said, I would like for you to, if you may, just tell the people about who you are.
Thank you so much, Herman, and thank you so much for having me on tonight. I've been watching your show, and I think this is fantastic what you're doing, especially as an exoneree, to continue this work and to give voice to your brothers and sisters that are voiceless at this point. And so I just want to commend you for what you're doing, and thank you again for having me on the show. My name is Furonda Brasfield. I am an Arkansas lawyer. I work for the Eighth Amendment Project as the Director of Leadership Development. And in that role, my primarily what I do is work to help develop, recruit, support leaders of color in the death penalty movement. For The death penalty is a bias system. It's a racist system, and it affects people of color much more than it does anybody else. But we don't have that many people of color that are actually working in the death penalty system. We don't have enough people of color in working to fight the death penalty, and showing that that history, the racist history of the death penalty, which basically we went from a noose to a needle. So that's what I work to do with the Eighth Amendment Project, is to help uplift the amazing work that's being done by leaders of color in the movement, to help keep us all together and be a support system for each other, because it's as you know, death penalty work is very, very isolating. It's very difficult work, and being a leader of color in the death penalty movement, sometimes you feel like you're already in this very siloed line of work, a very isolated line of work, and then being a person of color doing it, you're kind of siloed inside of a silo. So that's what I'm doing. I have the support, and I have the pleasure of working with some phenomenal, phenomenal people. You are one of those people. You are a part of our Leaders of Color group. I work under the leadership of our director, Laura Porter, with the Eighth Amendment Project. I have the pleasure of working with some additional leaders of color that are helping to kind of helm this project. Joya Aaron, who's housed at the Southern Center for Human Rights with Sarah Tatanchi at this point. She's working to help other organizers throughout the country to organize around issues of racial justice. I also work with Miss Sherelle Brown, who is working on a really, really important and phenomenal project, the I Am Troy Davis project. And for those folks that don't know who Troy Davis is, Google Troy Davis. That's how I kind of got into this work with the Troy Davis case. I watched that case and was so I'm dumbfounded. I could not believe that the state of Georgia was going to execute an innocent man. And the whole time I just knew something was going to happen. Like, you're going to stop this. This is going to stop. And it never did. And so Sherelle is doing that very important work of telling the story of I Am Troy Davis, and using that as an educational tool to let people know that, we have innocent people that are convicted and sentenced to the death penalty too often, and too often we have people that are being executed. And so that's in a nutshell what I'm doing. I'm here to support.
You know, I definitely have to give a shout out to one of your members, Laura Porter. You know, she was on one of my shows not too
I
long
caught
ago,
that.
and you know, I remember when I first met her in New York, she was such an amazing person, and she gave me some very educational points. And that's when I was first beginning speaking, and was kind of still shy. Um, but it's people like that that motivated me to give more and try to be more. You know, one of the things you've done, you when you were just speaking, you talked about many different organizations, and that brings up in mind because a lot of people don't understand the work that's being done behind trying to abolish the death penalty, and
Mhm.
sometimes they just see one face. And as I tell people a lot of times, you know, uh, I might be up here speaking, and but it's a whole support system behind me that a lot of people are not aware of. You know, for instance, Eighth Amendment Project is one big organization that a lot of people don't know about. And so I wanted to ask the question of, how would I say it? I guess straight out, can you describe to the people, you know, like Witness the Innocent, we co-partners with a lot of different organizations. You, I remember when you first began, I don't think you was with a Eighth Amendment at the time we first met at New York. I'm not
I
sure.
was with the Arkansas Coalition to Abolish the Death Penalty at that time. When you and I met in New York, I think it was
Right,
Tarrytown. We met at the Capitol Defense training that was put on by the NAACP Legal Defense Fund.
right.
And I was with the Arkansas group at that time. Yes.
So, you know, I wanted people to understand that, you know, it's a lot of organizations out there that's fighting for criminal justice reform issues, and they're partnering up with each other. And you being involved with so many different organizations, can you tell people how important it is for their support of this big platform?
Sure. So, when I was doing state level work with the Arkansas Coalition to Abolish the Death Penalty, I always thought of the Eighth Amendment Project as kind of like the man behind the curtain, like the Wizard of Oz, like pulling the strings. And now that I work with the Eighth Amendment Project, I better understand exactly what the organization does. And the Eighth Amendment Project is an organization that is designed to help um, develop a national strategy to abolish the death penalty. That's pretty much what the organization does. But in that, we do so much, and it's what we try to do is to support state organizations. There's this broader national strategy on how do we just get rid of the death penalty in this country, period. And then it's a state by state strategy. Where are states and how can we support and help? How long is it going to take? Abolition is not something that happens overnight, and it takes years and years and years to abolish the death penalty. And so we work to kind of work one-on-one and see where states are and how we can support individual states wherever they are. Maybe they are just starting an organization or just getting a paid staff member. We've got organizations like that, and then we've got organizations like Virginia who just passed repeal. They are the first state in the South. They are the home of the Confederacy and the first state in the South to abolish the death penalty. And so there's a wide spectrum of where states fall, but the Eighth Amendment Project is here to support those states, all of the states, and in the national strategy to abolish the death penalty.
And like you say, to me, next to the uh, European Union, you know, Eighth Amendment is like the grandmother of a lot of these organizations, and pushing them in the background, pushing them to help accomplish some of the missions that they are in with reforming bills and things in the legislation. You know, and I think that's very exciting to be a part of. I wish I actually were working for an organization on a full-time basis, but unfortunately, right now I don't. Just completed my private investigation certification, and hopefully I can get my rights back to get my license for to be a private investigation. And what I'm trying to do is actually work with FIU doing mitigation litigation. So they're willing to train me on that, and I'll be an example of the exonerees and people that of color that can actually change, providing that society and the government allows them the pathway to do so. And it's very difficult. But I want to talk about uh, some of the cases we got going on.
There are so many cases, but before we get into that, let me just say, Herman, congratulations on all that you're doing, and I hope that, I mean, it shouldn't even be an issue of you getting your rights back. You were exonerated, and so you shouldn't have to go through all of that to do the good work that you are wanting to do. But I'm ecstatic and excited. I know that you would make a perfect addition to any mitigation team. We need people that actually know how it feels to be on death row or to be accused of something that you did not do. We need folks like that to be mitigation specialists and to be organizers and to be on the ground supporting the work of abolition. So congratulations on that, and I'm looking forward to seeing all that you'll do in your new roles.
Yeah, I think if I do get my license, I think my outfit is gonna be like Sherlock Holmes, with the jacket and the hat, with a pipe. I'm
You
getting
need a
old.
magnifying glass.
Yeah, I'm getting old to that age. I'll be 50 in 2 years. And that is the sad thing is that, what people don't understand, the people that has been impacted by the system is transforming into the criminal justice reform fight, not only by their stories, but by their experiences can make a big difference. And such as investigations and litigations and understanding things in a different perspective because some people haven't really went through it. But I wanted to talk about, I was a part of the Julius Jones case uh, campaign with Represent Justice. CC Jones is over there doing a great job.
Phenomenal.
She's pushing it out, and she got her own show every week, and I try to tune in. I'll be grateful. I had the pleasure of interviewing Julius Jones' family, his friends, his good friend on one of our Cruise Justice show. And, it's just amazing how so much is there for to show that his actual innocent. But it is more, it takes, it seems like most legislators and the governors then took all these years in school to not understand common sense when something don't seem right. So, and then we have previous, what his name, previous
Purvis
Payne,
Payne.
Purvis
Purvis
Payne,
Payne.
and what the other one was,
There's Rodney Reed.
I know
There's
Rod Reed.
a list. We could just go down the list. There's Herman Lindsey.
Now Herman Lindsey already out. I'm talking about the one we tried to bring out. But something, since you said Herman Lindsey, I want to say something. You know, a lot of people look at these exonerees, and a lot of people look at this exoneration as a bad thing. We leading in, like Florida leading the nation. We so far we got 100 and I think 70 now nationally, or maybe more, death row exonerees. But I like people to also look at the bright side. It's that these organizations, these lawyers are getting in there and actually pulling innocent people out of there. So it's as the numbers grow greater, it's also a great thing to see that people are actually being involved, getting people out of innocent out of prison. And as you see, as you say, most of those exonerees are people of color, who's
Mhm.
also easy target
Yeah.
when it comes to the criminal justice system in society. Look at it, a black defendant sitting over in the chair. He did it. You know, he's guilty until proven innocent. It's not he's innocent until he's proven guilty. Um, but I don't even know where to go. It's so many questions.
There's so much, and I just want to touch on that because that's absolutely not how it's supposed to work. I remember my whole life hearing that you're innocent until you're proven guilty, but when I started to study the law, I realized that that's absolutely not how it works. If you are accused of a crime, if someone points a finger at you, then you got to go to jail. They're going to come pick you up. You got to go to jail. They're going to arrest you. You got to pay money to get out. If you don't have the money to get out, then likely you're going to have to stay in jail. You could lose your job. You could lose your car. You could lose your home. You could lose everything that you have trying to fight a charge that's just an allegation. And so the way that the criminal justice system works right now is it's fundamentally flawed. And we call it the criminal legal system because there's too often it's no justice there. And so we are trying to lock arms with a lot of other racial justice organizations, criminal justice organizations that to just fundamentally change how we do these things, because you are a witness of how devastating it can be when the system bears its weight on you, when you're accused of something and that now you've got to take everything that you've got to just fight against this charge. I mean, you can't focus on anything else and progressing in your life. And so that's one of the things that I wanted to mention, that it's definitely not innocent. I agree with you. It's definitely, you're not innocent until you're proven guilty. You're guilty until you can prove otherwise, and that's unfortunate, and that's not the way that the system should work.
And that what makes it so difficult on people such as yourself, who's attorneys. People don't know how difficult it is for an attorney going into the courtroom representing a person of color. They really don't know the. I mean, let's really talk about it. If you look at it, uh, I blame a lot of things on and our justice system errors is because the way certain people are raised in society. If you look at the prosecutors, you got some prosecutors that try to do the right thing, and then you got some that just want to get cases up under their belt so they can advance and go for political reasons. But the main thing is that we have people, which is called our peers, judging cases that don't understand the law. They
Yeah.
don't know what it means to be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. They don't understand that the state has that burden. They don't understand that just because a police arrest a black man, that is means he's guilty. It's the way society is dealing with things, and we need to change and educate more people in society to 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 reach out to make the justice system a fair and just justice system.
Absolutely. And when you talk about the jurors that are not educated, we've got jurors that have implicit biases. Some have explicit biases, but we all have implicit biases. I really love the color gray. Now, some people don't care for it, but if I have to pick out a color out of the spectrum, I'm going to pick out gray. I'm biased and I'm partial to gray. So, we've got people on juries that they have their own a set of experiences and beliefs, and we all have our own biases. So, there needs to be jury instructions to make people aware that they cannot use those particular biases. We also, like you said, we've got to have prosecutors that are not excluding jurors of color, because if you are working really hard to take all the people of color off the jury, is this really a jury of my peers? Is this really someone that's going to see me as someone, as a peer? and to judge me in the way that they would judge the person that lives next door to them, or their parent, or their sister, or their brother. I think that that's all of those things are at question. Julius Jones case in Oklahoma, he has a very strong claim of innocence. I believe that he is innocent. There was all of the jurors, all except one juror of color, was excluded from his jury panel, and so I think that gives us all, should give us all deep concerns about whether justice was administered there. And he is, as you know, he's just passed the first round of for the parole and pardon board. He's just passed the first round for, hopefully he will be granted clemency in the state of Oklahoma. And so, I mean, there are just so many cases that we could talk about where something, if something has gone wrong, and most, if not everything, has gone wrong.
And I still think of it today, how my jury would feel now. They not only found me guilty with no evidence, there was no evidence presented in my case. And because my case became one of the first cases in the history of the state of Florida where all 7 judges unanimously voted I shouldn't have never even been there, from the Florida Supreme Court, which is a very hard and difficult court.
Mm-hmm.
That shows that in my case, my jury really didn't pay attention to what their job was. And that makes it difficult for a defendant to get a proper defense. It's not equal.
It's not equal. And you know what happened for you doesn't happen often, and definitely not often enough. With Julius Jones, his only recourse at this point, he has no recourse in the courts. His recourse is the governor commuting the sentence or granting clemency. That's what he has. He is depending on the pardon and parole board, and they have to give the recommendation to the governor. Now, they have to give a favorable recommendation to the governor, and then the governor has to agree with it. Now, the governor could say, I don't agree, and he will, and Mr. Jones will receive no relief at all. So it's such a very high burden to meet to try to get your life back, as you know. And shout out to CC Jones Davis, who is doing some phenomenal advocacy work on the ground with the Julius Jones case, getting all types of folks involved. I was on a call the other day with Bishop T.D. Jakes and Kim Kardashian and others that are working zealously to try to get some sort of relief for Mr. Jones, who is an innocent man sitting on death row.
And for those that don't know, we got to send a special shout out to Rep Justice for that. And they strongly backing the Julius Jones case, and that goes to say this. Let's take the time when we met in New York. When we met in New York, the ball game was so difficult, and now it's like, since that movie, for me, since that movie Just Mercy came out, and everybody got into it. You had movie stars, Carmen, what is his name, Carmen over there in California, getting involved, going inside the prison system, doing concerts, and
Common, yes.
Common. So they, a lot of things done changed since Kim Kardashian, and I got to tip my hat to Kim Kardashian, because Kim Kardashian stepped up and she opened a lot of doors.
She did.
That needed to be open. I wish one day that I can actually meet her myself. I was supposed to be on that call with TD Jake that day, but unfortunately I wasn't feeling well. But I would love to meet her, and I would actually bow down to her and kiss her hand like a queen, not only because she's a woman, but because of the great way she's stepped up, spoke up, and got a lot of people involved in this, brought a lot of attention to this. So, not only just the movie Just Mercy, Kim Kardashian, we got a lot of the NBA players stepped up and NFL players stepped up. And, the game changed so greatly to where now when we bring our stories and people actually want to get involved. Before, and I'm sure you've had these issues where you go and you do this great event, everybody's there, and, they like, oh, I didn't know this, what can I do? But the minute they dot the door, they don't do nothing. They just keep on going on with their life. But now it's actually changing that people actually go out and sign the petition. Maybe it's because it's online or whatever, but it has changed. The game room has changed so greatly that now that we can get people in society educated and they actually get involved now.
Absolutely. There's some tremendous advocacy that's being done. I just applaud all of the organizers on the ground, all of the attorneys at the trial level and the post-conviction level that are doing this work, that are keeping these issues and these individuals that are on death row, keeping their names alive and keeping their cases and their stories ever present in people's minds. We even have some death penalty abolition bills that are at the federal level to abolish the federal death penalty. When President Trump was in office, he killed so many people that the death row was unbelievable. The amount of people that were executed, I think it was 3 times as many people in a 6-month period than had been executed in the previous 6 decades. And so that's unbelievable. And it was overwhelmingly, it was a racial disparity. The number of African Americans that were killed in that killing spree that was authorized by President Trump. And so I'm really excited to see the bills that are in our United States Congress that to abolish the death penalty and to commute sentences for everyone that's on death row. We're asking President Biden to commute those sentences right now. He has the power to, with the stroke of a pen, to commute the sentences of everyone that's on death row. And then we've got all these death row cases that are in the pipeline, in the federal pipeline, and the Department of Justice has the power to deauthorize the seeking of the death penalty in those cases. And so we're asking for that to happen as well. And I just want to applaud organizations that are working on that. Amnesty International, we've got Death Penalty Action, we've got some groups and others. I don't want to leave anybody out, but we've got groups that are doing that work on the ground and that are really pushing to have the federal death penalty abolished. And I do want to acknowledge the work that they are doing. We've got Chrissy Roth and Abe Bonowitz, who are the 2 people that come to mind when I think about the abolition of the federal death penalty.
Yeah, Abe is doing a lot of work. I want to take some time out right here to bring this out. You see this? I know you can't see it that well.
Can you put it in front of your shirt? And then I may be able to see it. There we go. There we go.
So, this is the March edition of National Geographic. And I want to thank National Geographic and Mark, the photographer, Mark. I don't know how to pronounce his last name right, Schoeller, Schoeller. In this article, in this March article, 2021 article, it's a whole piece in here about death row exonerees and the death penalty. We have a number of death row exonerees actually in this magazine now. And that goes back to what I was saying about now that the doors are open for people challenging the death penalty now in so many different ways.
Yeah.
But yet it's so difficult for our government to join hands and say, okay, let's get rid of it. It's a problem. And a lot of them still don't do it because they feel like if they take it away, they won't be elected because they're not being tough on crime. But people should understand that the death penalty is an act of revenge. As prosecutors push the anger and emotions in the family members to seek the death penalty. And most cases, when the family change their mind and say, "No, I don't want to seek the death penalty," the state still seek the death penalty
They don't
anyway.
want to hear it.
And so, who are they fighting for justice for? It's not. They say they're getting justice for the family and for the victim, but actually, they're trying to get a record so that they can say they did this and that, and whatever human being stand to brag about being involved and able to get individuals on the death row and able to get people execution. I think those are the people that we need to actually send to a psychiatrist and mental health and see what's really wrong with them people. And that's why people have to be careful about what they vote for. I'm about to run out of time, but before I go, I want to touch a little basis on our new president, Biden, and his choices to um, support doing away with the death penalty. What is your thoughts on that?
We heard a lot from President Biden on the campaign trail about his opposition to the death penalty, and his desire to stop the death penalty on the federal level. We had heard so much from him. We hadn't heard so much from him since he has been president. I realize there are so many pressing issues, and he inherited so many issues and problems from the former administration. But we are calling on President Biden. We are calling on him to right now, today, immediately, as soon as possible, to commute all of those death sentences, the pending death sentences, commute those, and to deauthorize and to encourage the Department of Justice to deauthorize use of the death penalty, or seeking the death penalty. And so we've at the Eighth Amendment Project, we have a letter right now, a sign-on letter for members of clergy, members of color of the clergy, to sign on to this letter encouraging President Biden to recognize the racist history of the death penalty. And that's something we hadn't talked about tonight so much, but the death penalty comes from lynching. That's where we got it from. We got it from when they would execute this cruel justice in one day. Go pull somebody out of their house because they were accused of looking at a white woman too long, pull them out of their house and string them up from a tree. And they had a lot of times they had the support of the local law enforcement. A lot of times they would go take the people out of the jail and hang them or tar and feather them. And so that's where we get our current day death penalty system. And so we are calling on President Biden to recognize that, to call it what it is, to call it lynching, legalize lynching, to call it racism, and to stop this practice right now. That's what we're calling on President Biden to do, and we're calling on him to do it as soon as possible.
And one of the things, being in the position I'm in, and being an exoneree of speaking, I meet a lot of different people, and one of the most craziest thing that happens to me is I'm used to getting letters from people here in the state of Florida on death row, but I received email through Core Link from a guy on federal death row. His name was Marvin Charles Gabriel, and he's out of Michigan.
Okay.
And, him and the guys there are asking me, and asking witness to innocence to step up and try to meet with Biden to get a commute their sentences to life. You know, and the thing about doing this work is a mental battle. I already went through mental battle, freeing myself. But when you have others in there claiming that they're innocent, and it's a high probability when you look at the cases that they are innocent, and it's like you trying to fight for them. It's a very, very mental battle, and it's just like you was talking about at the beginning, Troy Davis. Troy Davis, people fought and fought and fought, but the governor didn't want to hear it. And I'm praying that this is not a case that Julius Jones case going to turn into a Troy Davis case, you know, and hopefully they get in there and fix things immediately because I mean anybody who read that case can say it's odd that this co-defendant that's the only witness, the only main primary witness, stayed the night over there, and he slept in the attic, and he all of a sudden tell the police where the gun was in the attic, where he slept that, and other issues involved in that case is very hurtful, and that most people that read about this stuff, it affect them also. And
Yeah.
it's just crazy why we can't just go ahead and say this, you know, it's just crazy.
Enough is enough. You know, there is no reason that I should be able to point the finger at you to give myself a lighter sentence and send you to death row when I'm likely the culprit. You know, what I mean, it makes no sense. You know, we are getting these death sentences and convictions by any means necessary. And I think you said that before. We've got prosecutors some prosecutors that will do anything to get a win, and our laws should not allow for that. And so we've got to change our laws in the system. We cannot allow innocent people to be sentenced to death. We cannot continue to take liberty and freedom from people for 10, 20, 30 years before hopefully they will be exonerated if they are not killed. You know, we have allowed innocent people, I fully and wholeheartedly believe that we have allowed innocent people to be killed in this country with the death penalty.
No
And
doubt.
so we have to stop this practice. You know, death is different. Death is there's no going back. There's no saying, oh, you know what, our bad, we got it wrong, we need to dig him up and bring him back and restore him. There's no way that we can do that, you know. And so we've just got to stop the practice now. You know, as death penalty advocates, one thing that we always want to make clear to folks is that we believe that guilty people should be punished, but we don't believe anybody should be killed. We don't believe that the government should be taking life, and we know how often we get it wrong. The Death Penalty Information Center, they recently released some new stats about the error rate in the death penalty, and it's so high. You know, if we had 1 in 7 or 1 in 10 planes falling out of the sky, somebody would be able to do something. Somebody would say, hey, we've got to find a solution to this. And that's what we're saying. We're saying, hey, we've got to stop this. We've got to stop killing people in this country. The system is not infallible. In fact, it is very, very flawed, and we've got to stop killing people. We just have to.
And you know the sad part about it, and I really need to end this show, but I will do it. But you know the sad part about it, and I just want to add this, is that they create victims when they wrongful convict anyone for death row. Majority of the people that has been exonerated from death row or population, majority of them have not received any type of compensation for what has happened to them. We have so many members here at Witness the Innocent that I know for me, I'm struggling, but thank God we got Witness Innocent because Witness Innocent helps me out a whole lot. I mean, my lights go off, they help out. and they have programs that, try to help out. Uh, but I don't feel that Witness to Innocence should be taking on this burden of taking us exonerees. Um, I mean, it's a great thing, but I feel like the state need to step up. And if they create victims, they need to compensate them victims. You
You
know,
know, I agree, Herman. I agree wholeheartedly. The state, the federal government, the system should not be able to do all these things that I couldn't do. I couldn't come and pull you out of your home, Herman, and lock you in a cage, and lock you down there for like 20 years. And then when it was over and I decided to finally let you go, just like, oh, okay, oh well, be happy that I let you go. That's absurd to think that that is something acceptable to do to a person. It is absurd. And so I agree with you wholeheartedly. You should not be able to come and pull people out, falsely accuse them of something, um, and convict them and lock them in a jail. And if that ever happens, you absolutely need to compensate. There's no way that you could fully compensate someone for their freedom, but you need to do something to try to make that person whole again, instead of just saying, okay, oh well, be lucky, be happy that you get to go home, see you later. And then, as you said before, your rights are still not fully restored. You are still, you're definitely not financially restored in any type of way, but you still have to act as if you are a guilty person, or deal with the consequences, as if you were guilty. And so that's not right, and we've got to change it.
yeah, I'm serving a life sentence for that murder charge is still. So that's how that is. But I do got to end it. So with that being said, is there anything else you would like to add to the viewers before we close this? And I get to go on and on with you. And now I got your phone number. I am gonna call you time to time. So
Please do, please do.
yeah,
I always, I think there's power in saying names. I think there's power to acknowledging individuals. And so there are some names that I do want to say, and I know that I'm going to leave out a ton of people who have been adversely affected by this practice. But Ladell Lee, who is in Arkansas. He was a former Arkansas death row inmate. He was executed. We're still trying and fighting. We fought to get the DNA testing, and so we're still trying to exonerate him posthumously, and we know that we cannot bring him back. Julius Jones, who was fighting for his life in Oklahoma. Purvis Payne, who is fighting for his life in Tennessee. And Purvis Payne is, he has, not only is he have very strong innocence claims, and I believe that he is innocent, he also he is intellectually disabled, and has been sentenced to death. We also have Rodney Reed, who is who's fighting for his life in Texas, and with very strong innocence claims. And I believe that Rodney Reed is innocent. And so the list goes on. And please forgive me for all that I cannot and I don't have time to name, but we have to keep the fight going for these folks that don't have a voice. They don't have resources. They are doing all that they can, but they are depending on people that believe in right and that believe in justice and believe in good, to fight this good fight. And that's why I just have to again commend you, Herman, for the work that you're doing to give voice to those who the system has taken their voice away. So thank you again for having me on tonight, and thank you for the work that you do.
I look forward to having you again. With that being said, I would like to thank everybody for joining. You can get this video anytime. Witnessing his Facebook. You can our YouTube channel. You can also contact us at witnessinnocent.org um, for any information, or if you want to talk with an exoneree, or you want to hold an event and have somebody live story there. And I want to thank my chairman of the board, Kwame. Kwame, and I want to thank Executive Director Kirk Bloodworth. I also want to, every show, I have to thank my staff. I have an amazing staff here at Witness to Innocence, amazing staff. Um, and I am very grateful to be a part of this movement, and I will continue to make this movement for those that are on death row, whether you're innocent or not. You know, I am out here. I am going to continue to advocate to abolish the death penalty because I believe your life is precious. So don't feel like you're in there alone. You have brothers out here like myself and sisters out here uh, strongly fighting for your life. And hopefully one day, God will bless you and you will see daylight again. So until next time, I thank everybody for joining me on this Cruel Justice episode.